Hello, my name is Alfan Fajar and my student number is B1024201005 and I'm from Management International Class Batch 2020 and in this video I am going to talk about the Human Resource Management Chapter 5, which is the Human Resource Planning and Retention. So first, what is human resource planning? So human resource planning is the process of analyzing and identifying the need for and availability of human resources so that the organization can meet its objectives. And there are several processes of HR planning. The first one is review organizational HR strategic plans and then assess external and internal workforce, which includes external conditions and influences and internal workforce capabilities and KSAs. And the third one is compile HR planning forecasts, which includes demands for human resources and supply of human resources. And then the last process is developing HR staffing plans and actions, which includes employee retention and turnover, utilization and recruiting sources and means, and also selection process and actions. And what is retention? So employee retention is defined as an organization's ability to prevent employee turnover, or the number of people who leave their job in a certain period, either voluntarily or involuntarily. And effective employee retention can save an organization from productivity losses. And I am going to explain about the external workforces. So several common external workforce to be considered are: the first factor is economic and governmental factors, and then the second one is competitive evaluations, and the last one is changing workforce considerations. While the internal workforce factors are current and future jobs audit and employee and organizational capabilities inventory. And how do I forecast my HR demand and supply? Demand for human resource can be forecast by considering specific openings that are likely to occur. The openings or demands are created when new jobs are being created or current jobs are being reduced. And additionally, forecast must consider when employees leave positions because of promotions, transfers, turnovers, and terminations. And human resource supply forecasting is the process of estimating availability of human resource, which is followed by demand forecasting. And for forecasting supply of human resource, we need to consider internal supply and external supply of human resources that I have just mentioned before. And how do I estimate my internal labor supply? I have to consider the number of external hires and the employees who move from their current jobs into others through promotions, lateral moves, and terminations. And I also have to consider that the internal supply is influenced by training and development programs and transfer and promotion policies and retirement policies, among other factors. And I already read the HR headline on page 145. And based on the HR headline, I get the information that so many industries are now cutting their employees due to economical and technology issues. And in the United States, it resulted to hiring illegal immigrant workers. And this headline is important for me in the future because by reading this, it opens my mind on how we should plan our organization as an HR, and in the best possible way to that our workers would be satisfied and would stay in our company. And I also already read the HR best practices on page 147. And based on this article, I learned that in running out business in an organization, we need to do the planning and retention effectively. And it's important because by doing the planning and retention effectively, it could help us meet the future workforce supply and demand in terms of employees. And also, increasing employee retention by reducing turnover can aid in enhancing organizational performance and effective HR management. I also already watched the video about the human resource planning from the definition, its environmental scanning, the critical issues in human resource planning, the strategy on doing the human resource planning, the goals and actions that we must do in order to reach those goals of human resource planning. And I also already watched the video about the employee retention. This video starts from the definition of retention itself and the factors that can cause employee retention from the organization and the management. And this video also talks about the importance of job security and work-life balancing on the employee retention, and the rewards that the employee should get, and the trainings that should be provided to the employees in order to develop their skills and keep them stay in our organization. And what is psychological contract? So the term of psychological contract refers to individuals' expectations, beliefs, ambitions, and obligations as perceived by the employer and the worker. And the psychological contract can create either a positive or negative relationship between an employer and an individual. It is based on trust and commitment that leads to meeting both the employer's and employees' expectations and needs. And it is important because individual psychological contracts allow the employee to see their value and role within the business of the company. And it also helps both sides avoid creating unrealistic expectations of one another. And it also allows for amending the terms of the contract if needed, which is done through regular communications. And what components should a psychological contract recognize? There are several components, like employers provide competitive compensation and benefits, flexibility to balance work and home life, and career development opportunities. And the employees also have to contribute with continuous skill improvement and increased productivity at work, reasonable time with the organization, and extra efforts and results when needed. And there are three major factors that affect how a given individual performs. They are individual ability to do the work, effort expended, and the last one is organizational support. And the relationship of those factors is widely acknowledged in management literature as performance equals ability times effort times support. So when ability times effort times support, it will result in performance, in a good performance. And there are several components of individual performance. The first one is individual ability that comes from the individual itself, like the talents, interests, personality, characteristics. And the next one is effort expended, which are motivation, work ethic, attendance or turnover, and job design. And then we have organizational support. So the organization also have to support training and development, equipment and technology, performance standards, management and co-workers, and all of them result in individual performance, including quantity and quality. And I'm going to talk about job satisfaction. So job satisfaction is a positive emotional state resulting from evaluating one's job experiences. If employees are more satisfied with their job, they are less likely to leave the job, and they are more likely to stay in our company when they feel satisfied. And then I already read the article of chapter 5 dealing with human resource planning and retention, and this chapter is really important for me because what I get from this chapter is how I can manage my workers in terms of planning and retention in the future if I became a manager. And before I read this chapter, I never thought that in managing our workers is more than just having the employees to work with us, but it is also about how we can maintain our workers to stay in our organization by fulfilling their supply and demand, and by making them feel satisfied with our organization. And that's all about the human resource management chapter 5 that talks about human resource planning and retention. And thank you.